We're going to get started because we are also on Zoom today. And if we don't hit the time mark, people may turn it off. And that would not be good. So I want to welcome you. This is our first in-person forum since, I think, February of 2020. So it's a big day. And of course, it's made even greater because we're serving coffee. So I'm here as the forum organizer to really, with grateful heart, welcome Ali Hanten Ebert, who is the director of the Jeremiah program in Rochester. As I understand it, the Jeremiah program is a national program. We heard about it in February 2017. We had a forum where Jo Marie Morris came and told us about the dream of starting Jeremiah here. And of course, it sounded like a wonderful possibility, but as dreams are, until you see some evidence of them, you keep them in that category. But now we can say this has been fulfilled to bring Jeremiah here. And I'm so happy that she's here to tell us about it. She is originally from Minnesota, but has been living in Iowa and became the director 5 months ago. And she did her education, a Bachelor of Science in Psychology and a master's degree in Human Development and Family Service from North Dakota State University. And she has 2 children, and her husband is here working at Mayo. So we're just really pleased that she is in Rochester to begin with, but also to have her heading up this very important, outstanding program for us in Rochester. So Ali, we'll have you speak to not only the people here, but the people on Zoom about the Jeremiah program.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. And what an honor to be the first, right? Back after COVID. That's incredible. So as she mentioned, my name is Ali Hanten Ebert, and I'm the director at Jeremiah Program. So I'm just going to give you a little overview, just kind of a reminder of maybe what Jo Marie had kind of wished into the world. And then we're going to watch a film that was made about Jeremiah Program about disrupting poverty. And then we're going to do just like a brief kind of discussion afterwards, answering questions and stuff. So the film will give you a little bit more of a visual idea of what the program looks like and how Rochester really came together to build this program. And then we'll talk about what disrupting poverty looks like. So Jeremiah Program, as you all know, was kind of wished upon, dreamed up back in 2017 by Jo Marie Morris. And she was really the driving force behind bringing this program to Rochester. So as it was mentioned, this is a national organization. We're headquartered out of Minneapolis. So we have campuses in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Fargo, North Dakota, Brooklyn, New York, Boston, Massachusetts, and Austin, Texas. And so we are the 2nd newest campus and the largest in the country. So we have 40 units here. The next largest is Minneapolis with 37. And then Austin, Minneapolis and St. Paul both have 37. Austin is 35, Fargo has 20 units. And then Brooklyn and Boston are actually non-residential programs. So they partner with the community for housing opportunities. And so Jeremiah's mission is to disrupt generational poverty 2 generations at a time for single moms and their children. And so this idea was bred out of a need. So Father Michael O'Connell, who you'll see in the video out of Minneapolis, really saw this need in Minneapolis from his congregation at the Basilica of these single female headed of households really disproportionately experiencing poverty in a way that he didn't see the male counterparts. And so Jeremiah's focus is on single moms because of that disproportionality, not because there's not a need for single fathers, right? And so we're kind of focusing in on that need for single mothers because of that disproportionality. And so he saw this need and saw the barriers that existed for these single moms And so originated this program more than 20 years ago out of Minneapolis. And it's just kind of spread from there. As the film will indicate, this is the leading model in disrupting poverty in the nation. And we do that by really focusing on education in a two-generational approach. So what we see happen is that our single moms are having to make this very difficult, impossible choice of knowing that one of the most successful ways out of poverty is advancing education. But when you're in a position where you're having to pay your rent, pay childcare, and then thinking about taking time away from that, away from working and paying those bills to advance your education, it's impossible, right? There's no way to work less, because then that sacrifices your livelihood and your child's livelihood. And so what Jeremiah does is helps reduce barriers. And so we really focus on that post-secondary opportunity, whether that's college or trade, whatever parents are interested in. And then talk about, okay, besides the coaching, which is at the heart of our program, every mom and family is assigned to a family coach, and they are acting as support advocates, right? Like, what do you need? What help can we give you? How do we get enrolled in college? How do we fill out FAFSA forms? How do we navigate through the college system? Because anybody who's been through college can kind of maybe remember how daunting that felt like, or helping your own children through the college process, where you're like, what form do I fill out, and where do I sign, and what things do I have to turn into, right? And so we are really there in a step-by-step process to make sure that they can be successful in advancing that. And then on top of that, we can say, all right, is housing a need, right? Do you need housing? And in Fargo, we're fortunate enough to, I used to live in Fargo. We're in Rochester now. In Rochester, we're fortunate enough to have a 40-unit apartment building that families can live in. So we have 2- and 3-bedroom, fully furnished apartments that are in that same building over on 19th and Valley High Drive, right across from Lourdes High School. So the top 2 floors are 40 apartment units, 20 on each floor, and then our office space is on the bottom floor. And so if housing is a need that our families have, they can, as units are available, move into that and have that piece taken care of, right? So they pay 30% of their income towards their rent, and then they can really focus on school and work. The other really amazing thing that we can offer is free on-site child development care. And so we partner with Families First to run our child development center on-site. So moms can come downstairs, drop their children off, and go to school, go to work, do whatever they need to do for the day. And what's really unique about that is, so it's early Head Start and Head Start. And so we're not just babysitting, right? We're not just watching children, and that's important. And so I don't mean to insinuate that that's not necessary, but what we really want to make sure is that our children who are in that center are kindergarten ready, right? Because we know that kids can enter kindergarten at all kinds of different places, right? We have kids who are on the cusp of reading, and we have kids who have never been in a formal education center and don't really understand what it means to stand in line, what it might mean to raise your hand, right? And so we kind of have this whole spectrum, which is hard as a kindergarten teacher. I don't know if I have any educators in the audience, but as an educator, trying to cater to that kind of range, right? Where like I'm teaching social skills to one kid, and then I'm trying to help this other kid who's on the cusp of reading to learn to read. Like that education variance is huge. And so our goal is to make sure that all of our kids in the program are kindergarten ready by the time they go to kindergarten. Because what we know is that if they're ready to go to kindergarten, it predicts them being on track in 3rd grade to read proficiently and write proficiently, do math proficiently, which then predicts their high school graduation rates, right? We know that high school graduation rates predict college attendance. And so it's all cyclical. And so it's important to us to really have that 2-generational approach where we're not just helping moms advance their degree, but we're also making sure that their little ones have all the resources that they need to enter into an education system really successfully. And then our littles get to see their parents thriving and going to school and being successful, which is part of what breaks that trend of poverty, right? And so our program is a really great program in disrupting generational poverty, but Jeremiah's vision is a little bit bigger than just the 40 moms that we're working with here in Rochester, right? Because we know that generational poverty exists in a larger system. And so part of what we can do on a national level is leverage that to have seats at important tables to make sure that the systems that perpetuate generational poverty get broken, right? So that we can really build a system that allows everybody to thrive. Because I think one thing that's very apparent here in Rochester is that our community supports all of its members. Because we as a community thrive when all of our members are thriving. And so investing in our single moms, right, helps our entire community. And so it's something that Jeremiah feels really strongly about, that it's not good enough to just help one mom. It's something that we need to kind of, we always talk about, like, we want to work ourselves out of a job, right? Eventually we want to live in a world where Jeremiah program doesn't need to exist. That's not great for me just from a career standpoint, right? But like, it's kind of the end goal. And so I think that that's something that's super important, is like, how can we all as members of our community be a part of disrupting generational poverty so that future generations don't have to experience it? So on that note, we will watch a film here, and then afterwards we can have some discussion about it. Does that sound good? Awesome, thanks.
There are two public health crises, COVID, and also the awakening of many people about how racism is so pervasive.
We often engage with poverty as an economic issue. It's actually a social justice one.
Justice is a community issue.
We don't have a poverty system in this country that works. We have a poverty system that is a poverty prison.
The systems in place almost virtually make it impossible for somebody to move out of generational poverty.
Women are twice as likely, if they're single moms, to be at the poverty level.
You can't pay your rent, you've got medical issues with your child, you have educational challenges for yourself. It's not necessarily always safe.
Jobs that don't pay enough for people to build wealth.
Transportation barriers, fiscal cliffs.
In Minnesota, there were 150,000 households that made $50,000 or less a year that were paying more than half of their income on rent before COVID. There's not enough housing. There's not enough housing that people can afford. And we just need to do more. We need to do a lot more.
We're seeing homelessness across the country growing because of the income divide.
Domestic violence, untreated, undiagnosed mental health.
A child that is raised in not just poverty, but being homeless, they may never recover.
Oh, wow. The whole idea that we are going to invest and support moms, and we're going to invest and support them being parents. Oftentimes, you have to make a choice. If we're going to disrupt generational poverty, if we're going to go further faster, it's a yes and proposition.
Jeremiah is one of the nation's most successful strategies to end the cycle of poverty for single moms and their children 2 generations at a time.
Really, really, really nice.
Providing safe, affordable housing for career track, college education, on-site early childhood education for their children, life skills and empowerment training. And then what our founder would say is really the secret sauce of Jeremiah program, that's this community of support.
It's almost a cliche to say that it takes a village to build a family, but it's not a cliche. All of the many faceted things that are in one's larger community that have anything to say or anything to do with helping a family raise its children, the community can add if they want. The problem is they're all siloed. They don't really communicate with each other. And the Jeremiah program is so unique in that this group comes together and works together for the same mission and same purpose.
They have the hope, resiliency, determination, and perseverance, but the systems that are in place make it very difficult for them to move out of poverty.
Things started getting rocky for me is when my parents got separated. My dad had a gambling addiction, and when he left the home is when I started looking to different things, a lot of fear, and there was definitely a lot of anger. From ages 12 to 15, my drug abuse went to addiction. And that's when I first started experimenting with methamphetamine. For 10 years, I was in different chemical dependency treatments. My mental health was never addressed. I was never in a supportive, structured place for long enough. When I turned 18, I made a bad decision, and I was seeing somebody who was using drugs. And I ended up getting pregnant with my first son, Justice, and moved in with my kid's dad. He was really emotionally, physically abusive, involved in crime, criminal behavior. And that was the first codependent abusive relationship that kept me in a cycle for many years to come after that. I managed to stay sober until I was 22 or 23, and then I ended up relapsing. I ended up losing custody of Justice, and from there it was a really downward spiral. I was in and out of a couple treatment centers and facing some legal charges when I ended up going to prison 8 months of my pregnancy. And so I had my daughter Faith in 2012. Things went well or okay for about 8 months of her life, and then I started getting into some criminal drug behavior with her dad and caught more charges. And then child protection got involved. I just ended up losing custody of her. And then I got pregnant with my third child, and her name is Grace Liberty. And that's when I started what was called the CRAFT program, which is for moms who struggle with chemical dependency and mental health. Child protection wanted to terminate my rights with Grace right away. I fought for a year, and the judge decided to give me a chance, and I did everything that I was told to do. I was granted custody of Grace is when the Jeremiah program came to one of our CRAFT meetings, hearing about this supportive environment and what the goal was. It hit home for me. I want to go back to college. I want to go get my degree. I felt like it was the right time and the right support and accountability to help me achieve that dream.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
Yes, it is a nice place. It is. Since I've moved into Jeremiah, a lot of different pieces of my life are coming together. It's been a long time since I've been in school. I am getting all 100% in my English class. Yeah, true story. I was asked after I won custody of my daughter, Grace, if I would testify at the Capitol and give my story, and if I would speak up at Disability Day at the Capitol. Every year I go up to the Capitol. I really feel like if it wasn't for the CRAFT program, I would not have custody of Grace, and I would not be sitting in Jeremiah, and I wouldn't be going back to school. So I'm truly grateful. So my dreams and hopes for the future would be doing local social work, victim advocacy for women in recovery or people that struggle with mental health. Balancing school, my recovery, a job, raising Grace has definitely been challenging. Keeping my emotional health is number one for me. I'm not living in the shame of my past, and I'm in a position to use my past as a story of what other people can overcome. For Jeremiah, having the holistic approach to address all areas helps keep us like the most empowered and the most solid that we can possibly be. Having Grace with me is another reminder of just what I've overcame, and that I am supposed to be a mother to her, and that keeps me going throughout the day is God's grace and my grace.
For a mom to be a participant in Jeremiah program, they have to be attending college, they have to be working or volunteering part-time, their children have to be going to the Early Learning Center, the Child Development Center, they have to be meeting with their family coaches, they have to be attending weekly life skills classes.
And the empowerment course goes from 10 to 16 weeks, and then they're able to either admit fully into the program or move into the residential campuses. They're with us for an average of 3 years. Empowerment is really the foundation of what we do. That emotion regulation, it brings women from victim mentality to, I can do this. And we have to work on that first. We have to get them strong on the inside first. We're able to work on those life skills, the parenting, healthy relationships, which healthy relationships I think is a huge part of future success.
Now they're receiving education about how do they feel better about themselves. Then they can build on the things that they're learning, working through prior traumas.
It is very important that we are available for moms, and especially in this situation, because you don't always know that you're experiencing not just trauma, but depression, anxiety, because it's difficult. It's very difficult to have to make major decisions all the time alone without support.
Start recognizing their emotions and their feelings. That really builds the muscle of the self-awareness, talking through power modes and weak modes and skills on how to get themselves from a weak mode into a power mode.
I love that Jeremiah supports women and their children in a way that they don't feel like they have to rely on other people or maybe be in relationships that are not safe just to be able to survive.
It's about learning. It's about having expectations for yourself. It makes people much more accountable.
We're talking about the development of the whole person, which means emotionally, psychologically, it means body, mind, and spirit. The women at the Jeremiah program have an environment in which to develop, to become a whole and thriving person.
Gaining that confidence of themselves and knowing that they have that intrinsic value no matter what their history has been, that provides the strength to move forward for themselves and for their children.
One of the things about the Jeremiah program that the participants had talked about is that they felt that they never had someone that had their back. This affirmation together as women, as sisters, empowering each other.
One of the things that Jeremiah brings to the community is the fact that we need mentors, we need educators, we need everybody at the table to help persons and give them a hand to move them across that bridge.
And to have the type of protection and security and the kindness and the generosity of the program without strings attached was tremendously transforming for me. I really believe that what the program gave to me allowed me to heal in a natural way.
What they do with each other and for each other is translated into love. And it's translated into compassion. It's translated into forgiveness. These are all tools that are part of, in the best possible use of the word, empowerment, forgiveness, compassion, kindness, love.
My mom, she had a drug addiction. She was using drugs when I was born. We've never lived in a place for more than a year. In and out of shelters, foster care. Childhood wasn't really childhood because we had to worry about like survival. I struggled a lot with like behaviors though. Like I fought a lot. I fought a ton. I fought a ton in middle school and high school. I started just to know like there was more to life. You know, I started reflecting on my childhood and I didn't want to be like my mom or what I've seen. I knew like I could do more. Like I knew I was smart and I've always had it in me, like I can do more. And that's when I started getting introduced to like the healthcare field. And I decided to do the CNA program. And I decided to do the PCA program. And at that time I was working in long-term care. I started to see there's nurses, there's doctors, there's more. I have Marley and Riley. I was very scared to be a mom because I didn't know what a mom was. So I was never taught the I love yous, the hugs, the kisses. Like I knew I had to do that. I just didn't think that I could be like a good mom, like I would be enough. So yeah, I'm gonna get emotional. Yeah, like yeah, I'm sorry. There was another mom, I met her through a church event, and she mentioned to me, like, have you ever heard of the Jeremiah program? I'm like, no, what's that? I know how hard it is to go to school and to have one child. And I knew like, okay, Mayana, you need help. Like, this program is speaking to you. I was a little nervous moving in because, you know, I did everything on my own. I kept to myself. I didn't have a community. I couldn't really identify with a lot of people. But when I moved here, I just felt relieved. My daughter, she was very colicky at my old apartment. She was extremely colicky. And when I moved here, it may sound weird, but she wasn't colicky anymore. So I think the environment has impacted me as well as my children. Kids need routine, kids need stability. The daycare downstairs, we have to follow a schedule. I know when I pick them up, I'll bring them here. We'll make dinner, we'll eat. That's what's so interesting about the Jeremiah program. Like, they want to help moms, but by helping us, it helps us raise our kids. Empowerment, it has taught me, and I'm working on it still, how to recognize my emotions and how to respond to them and not to be so reactive in situations. If you be a good boy and eat, you can have a tiny bit of ice cream. Before I moved to the Jeremiah program, I felt alone. I was very stressed. But being here is just, I don't know, it's lifted a weight off of my shoulders, honestly. And it made me believe in myself more. Empowerment. It helped me reflect on who I am. My short-term goal is to get my bachelor's and to get some experience under my belt. My long-term goal is to be a nurse practitioner, to have my own clinic and help some of the young women in an impoverished area. But I feel like I'm still a work in art, and I know for a fact like my future will be good.
It's a holistic training that when we say that the moms are empowered through this, it's both psychologically and then just the fundamentals, right? Giving them the educational foundation, you're developing the skills. They show up every week, they do their homework, they're engaged. They start to recognize this is a long-term commitment and there's going to be a long-term change. And they start believing in themselves. It really does change who they are.
Knowing that education is the greatest weapon to change a life and change the world. Take people from a lower 10% economic, and then we take them to an upper economic, just from getting a 2-year degree, where they can go from an hourly wage to a salary wage and get a family sustaining wage from picking a career.
There are barriers in front of this talent that has been created by society, by their situation. And we work to try to remove those barriers. Those empowerment coaches, those life skill coaches can come in there and start challenging them to think about, what about 5 years from now? What about 10 years from now? What's their trajectory? And then that creates a career for someone who's laying talent pipeline, connectivity in the community. Not only are we focused on the moms, but we're also focused on that future generation of children that come through this program as well.
We have a partnership now with Families First of Minnesota. Is providing Head Start and early Head Start for all of our families.
So much of the foundation of a child's learning starts before they enter the school system. If we don't get to these children and help them before they get to school, they face even more difficult challenges. We start with prenatal assistance for moms all the way from birth through age 5, and we get great results. We see children just blossom in front of us. The best way to be successful is to form partnerships, provide the best return on investment. And I think Jeremiah Program and Families First is a great example of how that can work.
Nobody can build a building like a Jeremiah Program complex by themselves. It takes a bunch of committed partners. It takes vision. It takes years, oftentimes, lots of funding sources.
One of the most exceptional things about how Jeremiah Program Southeast Minnesota came together was this incredible cross-sector support. The Coalition for Rochester Area Housing, the collaboration of the Mayo Clinic, the City of Rochester, Olmsted County provided funding. It was this initial cross-sector support that was really allowed us to leverage further funding from the state of Minnesota.
We're able to leverage resources across systems that most places don't. There's no county organized like ours in the state of Minnesota, and very few are across the country. One of the things we could do is look at our HRA and say, hey, project-based vouchers. And that was one of the key financial strategies to getting this program open.
You know, right as we were establishing the coalition and bringing that philanthropic funding was right at the time when Jeremiah Program was starting to come to fruition here. And so as we looked at the innovative and different ways that we can help support affordable housing here in Rochester and Southeast Minnesota, this was one of the first projects that came forward. This is a program that has worked and has shown a track record of success.
The private and the public sectors, the faith-based communities come together for different reasons. I don't think we can do one without the other. I think we all need to contribute. It
really also took advantage of the unique aspects of a successful model that has a partnership between private foundations like our own, between individuals, and between the government program. So we saw that as a long-term benefit for sustainability.
We wanted to know who in the community, faith communities, the churches, the business community, other nonprofits, what other groups were going to support this project, because that told us that then the community as a whole had a commitment.
We as a society owe them that kind of support system so the next generation can even be better than the one they came from. We are all collaborating to make the next generation even more progressive than the ones that have been behind us.
Having a campus where you've got people in the same situation, friendships, support, it's a community. So create this environment that enhances their community, connection to people, connection to the outside world.
I believe that the Jeremiah Program is about social justice. I was treated like a person, a human being that is at this place and time in life, and here are these resources, and we're gonna share the abundance that we have of resources with you so that you can have something, so that your kids can have something, so that you can be a part of this community with us.
When I was at Jeremiah, everything was just like one big family, from the staff to the volunteers. I started to go back to school, so it had been 9 years from when I got my associates that I actually finished my bachelor's in 2013. When I walked across the stage, I was 8 months pregnant with twins. So that was interesting. So I got my bachelor's, and then now I have a master's in health and human services administration. So, and I plan on going back to school. Jeremiah has it down pat that the formula works. They have plenty of graduates, they have plenty of alumni doing wonderful things all across the country.
Over 20 years, they've proven themselves in multiple locations, diverse locations, from Fargo, North Dakota to Austin, Texas, to New York and Boston and the Twin Cities.
Jeremiah Program is a partnership with our moms. It's creating this agency for the moms so that they can move forward, and they're the architects of what they want to have happen in their future. we support them in that and partner with them.
It's pretty impactful to think about these moms and these kids and what it means to them. And now they have hope.
One of the things that the Jeremiah program does is it really says we are going to invest in these families. We're going to invest in these moms. We're going to invest in these kids.
I think that the support that they're receiving now is going to make them much more independent and much more successful. Love, of caring, of teaching, they're learning to be independent, and that is going to serve them well in the future.
It's about empowerment, and standing up for yourself and learning how to do that.
What a sight to see this building. I mean, it's just a fabulous thing to see. This was the hope and the dream of so many people that see this come true. And here it is right now.
It's just amazing how so many groups have come together. And now that the building is open, to see all the groups that have said, we want to be part of that. Whether it's helping with the furniture, it's helping with the meals. It just takes this whole village to make this program work. And we have that village here.
The fact that we are dealing with both the parent, the young parent, and the young child. And I think doing both things versus one or the other is very significant. That easily drew us in. To see a program come forth, you know, it made you just jump on board right away.
And this is a beautiful story about coming alongside someone. We are involved in this because we love what it's doing for not just our community, but for our world.
This is so cute. You love it? I do.
But more importantly for us, it is just loving our neighbor.
That's a powerful community of people who do this work. You know, why wouldn't we want a world in which everybody had a chance to make their own best future?
Someday they will carry this message on, and the people that they impact in their lives, because they're going to tell this story for decades and decades to come.
A mom with a brand new baby should be honored in our society.
A child's always a blessing.
To be caring for the most vulnerable people, I think is a moral thing.
I think we all need to contribute.
When you support the least of us, it supports everybody, because we cannot all do better until we all do better.
But right around the corner, there's a place where you'll find yourself thinking, wow, if only I knew then what I know now. Yeah, it gets better. It gets better.
All right. What questions can I answer? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is just tremendous. I'm thrilled that you're working with them to get college education, but what about the ones that haven't finished high school with their encouragement to get their GED so they can go on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so of those referrals, so she had asked, what about moms who come to us and who haven't completed their GED or high school completion diploma, whatever that case may be. For those instances, we would really connect them with the resources to finish that, right? Whether it's a GED program, some kind of a high school completion, depending on their age. But yeah, we would definitely connect them to the correct resource so that they could fulfill that and then be referred back to us. I really believe in the power of collaboration and making sure that we're working together as a system, right? Because while GED completion might not be Jeremiah's mission, it's someone else's, right? And so making sure that we're all kind of playing the same, playing together so that I can refer them to the college or the high school completion. And then once they're done, they can refer them back to us, right? And that we're kind of all keeping that safety net, because there's so many opportunities for people to fall through. And so the more collaborative we are, the better chance we have to help people kind of persist. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So she asked how many people apply versus how many can we serve, and what happens if there is, a gap there. And so we know that there's about 20,000 female-headed households living in poverty in Southeast Minnesota. We have the capacity to serve 40 of them at a time, right? That does not mean we're getting 20,000 referrals, right? We generally have at any given time between 10 to 30 referrals. And so the way that referrals work is that they get referred to us and then they get kind of put in a queue. And then the empowerment course that they referenced happens seasonally. So we do one in fall, winter, spring, summer. And so all the referrals come in as cohorts. So based on when the referral came in, they might be in the summer cohort where they're going through empowerment at the same time. So that's one thing that if you get referred to us, there might be a waiting period between when you're referred and when you can start receiving services. And that's something that we try to be really upfront with at the beginning. So people aren't expecting, like, we aren't emergency housing, right? We're not even a housing program. We're a college persistence program that offers housing as a support. And so it's something that we really work with the continuum of housing. We're a part of the coordinated entry system here. So we work with other housing entities that are serving more emergent needs, right? The shelters and the kind of transitional living programs, those kinds of things, to make sure that, if they get entered through an emergency shelter and then get transferred onto a transitional living program, right, that we can be kind of that next stop, because we really want to make sure that our moms are at a place where they're stable enough for that, because we know that life has to feel a little bit stable in order to be successful in college, right? We can't be facing kind of housing emergencies while also trying to persist through college. Yeah, good question. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. Yep. Our brochures are currently being revamped, so I don't have any for you right now, but I'm happy to leave like a contact and just kind of tell you briefly. She asked about volunteer opportunities. So once a week, we do something called Cook for Kids. During non-COVID, what that looked like is of a group of volunteers or somebody would come in and make a meal on site. We have a fully kind of conventional kitchen that people can use. And then we would eat a meal as a community. So moms, kids, volunteers would eat as a community. COVID obviously put a stop to that. And so right now, the way it looks is that people are volunteering to kind of cater a meal for a Tuesday night. I don't know about you all, but making dinner is one of my least favorite activities when I get home from work every day. And so the idea that we get to offer one meal to our families a week, that we get to kind of say, like, you have the night off from cooking. I know that for some people, cooking is a stress reliever. That's not it for me. And so I love that we can provide a meal for them once a week that just kind of takes that off their plate. So that's a great volunteer opportunity. We're also going to be restarting our childcare volunteer opportunities. Currently, we're kind of just opening it up to volunteers doing care for either like a mental health session. So we partner with Family Services Rochester to come provide on-site mental health support for moms and their kids. But sometimes, due to work schedules or school schedules, they can't fit it in during the traditional childcare hours. And so we're opening up those evening slots for families to be able to get mental health services after they're done with work or school. And we sometimes need some volunteers to help with the little ones, so that can be a little distracting during therapy to try to process through some stuff while your 3-year-old's bouncing around the room. So that's one opportunity. And then also for studying, like if you have a test that you could use some support in childcare for, that's another opportunity that we're going to be opening up here. But we have some opportunities for like some yard work and, some kind of projects around campus as well as drives. We do some drives. So you may have seen the welcome baskets that you saw. It was like a laundry basket full of like towels and cleaning supplies. And so every family receives a welcome basket when they move into the program, but those are all based off of donations and people supporting that. So that's also, you know, some different drive opportunities are also a great way to get involved and kind of help support families moving into their next adventure. And just an update on the moms that you saw in the film. So Valerie was the first mom that you saw. She talked about how one of her goals was to work in the social work field, kind of helping be an advocate. She is currently working as a parent partner, which is the first role of its kind in the entire state of Minnesota, where she is working with other parents who are navigating the child protection system. And that position is really, it has to be filled by somebody who's been there. And so she's able to use kind of the skills that she's built and her own experience to help parents navigate through this system. I came from Iowa, and the program originated from Iowa, and it is just starting to come to Minnesota. And she is the first parent partner of Minnesota, which I think is pretty amazing. And she was kind of hand selected for that position. So she's doing wonderfully, and is also a leader in recovery, doing a lot of presentations around the community, revolving around her own path in recovery and supporting other people in their recovery. Mayana is an LPN who is an amazing parent, and also working to get her RN. So she's also doing super well and a leader on our campus as well. Yeah.
The film quoted that the average stay was 3 years. Is that a hard and fast, or what means? What do you do when you say that you're ready to launch out?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically the question is, how long can they stay in the program? Our families can stay in their program until they're done with their degree. So they're in the program until they finish their degree. So that could be 4 years or so. And then they're given 6 months after as a transition period, where we help to ensure that they have stable housing and a career and kind of whatever is next for them, because we don't want to just be like, congratulations, you got a degree, see you later. And so it's really important for us to set up that stability too, and ensure that transition is really smooth, because we're not disrupting anything if we just kind of push them out the door and say, good luck out there. So yeah. So the average stay is about 3 years, but they can be in the program for as long as they need to finish their degree. The question is about whether people have to have children in order to be in the program. The answer is yes. Yep, they do have to be parenting in order to be in our program. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, we generally ask that you plan for 40 families, with kind of an idea of like adult and children in there. Anything else? She asked about whether they have to be enrolled in college or not. So they have to have intentions to be enrolled, but we will help them with the application process and the financial aid and all that stuff to get. So it's not like you have to actively be going to college when at the time of referral. That's something that they're given a semester at the time of move-in to kind of figure out what their plan is to start college. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a little misleading. Yeah. Yeah, how many Jeremiah programs are active? There are 7 campuses currently. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Fargo, Brooklyn, New York, Boston, Massachusetts, Austin, Texas, and Rochester. Mm-hmm.
What was the CRAFT program?
It's a substance abuse, what was the CRAFT program is the question. It's a substance abuse treatment program here in Rochester is my understanding. I'm still getting familiar, I'm new to the community, so I'm still familiarizing myself with all the community resources, but I believe it's a substance abuse treatment program that supports families. Mm-hmm. So she asked about what programs are considered kind of appropriate for considered post-secondary. Currently, it's an AA or a BA, like a 2 or a 4-year degree. Our strategic plan is starting to explore trade program. We want to really make sure that there's a lot of need for trade, and there you can make a really good living in trade programs. And so we want to make sure that our families have kind of access to the entire gamut of what career possibilities are and don't feel kind of pigeonholed into certain degrees. And also college isn't for everybody, right? Like there are a lot of people who would be brilliant in trade programming, but like are not going to be successful in college. And that is completely fine, right? There is room for everything. And so that's something that we're going to be start exploring in our kind of third year of our strategic plan is how do we enter the world of trade and what does that look like? How do we ensure that, you know, they're getting the appropriate training and kind of we're setting them up because that's, I feel like an untapped territory that we really need to start promoting so that our families can know kind of what all the possibilities are. And there are lots of trades that pay way more than any four-year degree you're going to get and cheaper to go through.
I'd like to know about the sustainability now as you go forward. How are you funded and are you subject to grants and if the grants disappear? Then
Yeah. So the question is around funding. How's the program funded? So it's kind of a two-part question. One is the building and the other is the program. So the building is funded through various partnerships through the county and the state. So we have units that are paid for. Some of them are, we have some that are dedicated for homeless people, and those are paid for through local homeless tax credit or local homeless money through the county. And then we have some tax credit units. So investors have invested into Jeremiah program and get tax credit benefits by investing in that. So we just have to kind of maintain capacity for them in order for that to qualify. And then we also partner with the county on project-based vouchers. So half of our units are paid for by project-based vouchers, which is a wonderful program because if a family is in the program for longer than a year and then at some point choose to leave, that turns into a housing choice voucher that they can then go into the community and use at whatever housing that they need to. So the building, and so all of those leverages allowed us to apply for state funds to pay for the rest of the building. So the building is covered. The programs are paid for. We have one state grant that pays for some of our coaching. We're starting the third year of a 3-year grant for that. And then the rest of our programming is all funded by private foundations and unrestricted funds by donors. So we really rely on community support to continue providing the services that we do. And all of that stays local. So there's some questions like, because you're a part of this national affiliate, if I donate to Jeremiah Rochester, does that go somewhere else? All the local dollars stay local. So if you're donating to Rochester, that money goes to Rochester programming. Does that answer your question? Great. So because our campus has only been open for a year, right? So July is our year anniversary. We have had one graduate so far. She graduated this spring, which is super exciting. She graduated with her AA degree and is going to be moving to Minneapolis to go to the U of M to get her bachelor's degree in psychology. And we have other families who we've worked with kind of off-site in those previous years where we were working with moms in a non-residential model, essentially. And then we have some other graduates who are tracked to graduate in December. So as we kind of get some more time under our belt, we'll start to see some more of those moms graduating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she asked about tours. So we are having an open house on September 19th. So that's open to the public. You guys are all welcome to come take a tour. If you'd like a tour before then, feel free to reach out and I'm happy to arrange that. We just started doing tours about a month ago. So I will leave contact information for you all so you can reach out if you would like a tour. But we also have a newsletter that's really helpful. It just kind of keeps you up to date on like, what are we doing? What's been going on campus? And then it kind of gives you dates like that where we have, in September, we have our open house, and then in October, we have our gala. On October 29th, we finally get to do an in-person gala again. So we're pretty excited about that. So yeah, so if you'd like to be a part of a newsletter, I'm happy to take down an email And you can kind of limit, like, I just like the newsletter, I don't want to be solicited, right? You can kind of tell us what you'd like that email used for, but it's helpful to just kind of stay up to date of like, what's going on at Jeremiah. And then, did you have a question?
I was just wondering, what is the success for the Jeremiah program?
I think that that's a great question. And I think that we have to kind of look at that nationally, not quite locally yet, because we're a little bit more new. And so 60% of our families finish the program with a graduate degree, some kind of a graduated degree, which I think is kind of remarkable. So it's something that we're constantly working at, is like, how do we build up support systems that allow our families to even be more successful, right? Yes, is there a long-term support system for graduates? So as you saw, there was a couple alumni that were in the film. So Jeremiah has something called the Jeremiah Program Fellowship. And so once they're done with the program, they can enter this fellowship that allows them to kind of enter in like a mentoring capacity almost, where they can do things like films, speaking events, engaging with our moms. We do a summit every year where we invite both alumni and current moms to kind of a half-day summit event where there's keynote speakers and supports for them. And it's a really great networking opportunity for moms to connect across campuses.
My understanding, I didn't realize the children went to Head Start. Is that just here in Rochester?
So they actually, the program that they provide on campus is Head Start. So they don't go anywhere. It's just happening on campus. Yep. It's just the Head Start program that they're implementing on campus here. Yep. Yeah. Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's been a special morning, hasn't it, to have this opportunity. I think the forum is a way in which we get some glimpses of great work that's being done in our community. And it calls us to respond and to find ways that we can volunteer and can contribute, because people are out there trying to meet the needs that we hear so much about and feel helpless in doing anything.